Hello, it's Dr. Young. Welcome to Chapter 2. For Chapter 2, we're talking about thinking differently. And that's in your text, obviously. And this is where you get started with lean. And we talked about how different it is. It's really getting down to the people that do, instead of at the very top where the manager says, here, this is what we're going to do, and here's what you need to do, get it done, and they'll handing down tasks, telling you what your tasks are for the day to reach this goal, so that this higher goal can be reached, right? Lean's different. It starts at the bottom. It starts at the person doing this, the lower jobs, the more simple tasks that, are done every day. They're looking at what they're doing and saying, how can I do this better? So the managers really need to be more concerned as far as what are these employees doing here at this lower level, and what is the next level, what are they doing, and kind of getting them to say, kind of working with them and understanding their challenges every day of who are actually doing the job, and then helping them figure out how can they do that job better. What do they need to do that job better? What resources can be pulled for them to be able to do that job more quickly, easily, with less resources? So it's very different. So anyway, humans follow a general pattern. Okay, so we know that the process is define and decide. So thinking about any situation and understanding it, and then figuring out how to handle the situation. Taking action to solve it, and then accepting the consequences. So this process is define, decide, drive, and deal. It's how we learn. It's how we grow. But in lean, it's a little bit different. It starts with action. PDCA, plan, do, check, act. That's the Toyota tool that considers facts rather than data as the ultimate source of knowledge. Concrete facts. And that's the building block of learning in lean. And the idea is that if we want to learn anything, we have to make a change and then check the result and evaluate its impact. So make a change, check it, and then we just keep doing that. You plan, make a change, or conduct a test for the purpose of improvement. Do, carry it out on a small scale. And then check was analyze what was learned by examining the results, and then act, implement the change, or discard it. I'll give you an example. This is not, we weren't even, when I was at GE, I wasn't even using lean, but this is how similar it is, okay? I was at a billing department, and the billing, we would bill our customer and they would take forever to pay. We didn't really understand why. But it had to do with snail mail. And they were resistant to change to an email invoice system. But I made the change, and I convinced the person there, look, let's try this, because I'm telling you, it's going to make a big difference, and you won't be getting calls by us, and you'll get your discount, because basically if they didn't pay by a certain time, they lost a discount, and they never would pay by that time, because they would say, well, you didn't give us our invoice. I'm like, till so-and-so time. I'm like, well, you're not getting it. There sure is a big lag time between the time we're mailing it and you getting it. So I don't know what was going on there. But I convinced them to say, okay, we need to get you on an email invoice system. So that's the change that I made here. And I had that customer and 3 others who were having the same problem. And I carried it out on a small scale with these 3 customers. Changed how they got their invoices. We changed. This is a very simple example. This is not a complex one at all, but it still applies. Change it to email invoicing. We sent them the email invoice, every month. We did it for 6 months on a small scale. We did that. Then we went and analyzed that and their days to pay. So basically what we did was simply, for 6 months we did it, and we analyzed how the changes, how long did it take them to pay us, and versus the previous 6 months before the change. And obviously it worked much better. They paid much more quickly, and they got their discounts, and we solved the problem. Now, you could do this type of test and it not work out. And this test, obviously, was pretty common sense that it would. But you could make a change, do that on a small scale, and it just not work out at all. So in that case, you discard it. You make another change. In my case, I implemented that change for those companies and solved the problem. We also continue to monitor those companies and make sure they would continue to pay on time, because if they didn't and slip back to the pattern, using lean thinking principles, we would keep monitoring that, and then we would make another change. We would look into it and make another change if needed to continue to get them to pay the way they were paying us. So yes, so that's a lean strategy. It's a lean thinking. Constantly reviewing that and making sure that we're not getting off track again. So questions to ask: what is the ideal waste-free solution? What are the key improvement dimensions? And here's another video on lean principles. You might want to give that a look as well. Like I said, I like to incorporate videos and video examples in here, because some people are better at learning, through videos. Some are more visual. So just feel free to look at that. So these questions uncover what improvement to pursue. These questions uncover the following gaps: gap between the current situation and the best we can do. Gap between the best we can do and the next significant step. And then issues no one has ever considered. So these are the questions you need to look at. It's like, where are we now? Where would we like to be? And then where can we, with the next, how much difference would the next step make? So how far are we from our ideal situation? Because sometimes you need to do several things to get to the ideal situation. In my case, one thing got us to where we wanted to be, which was getting paid on time, so we could get paid on time, and that our customer got the discount that we promised them in the contract if they paid on time. So everyone is happy. But maybe, what if that wasn't enough? What if it got us more towards that goal, but not exactly, like maybe they paid us a little overdue, but not as overdue as we were? Then we would have to try another strategy on top of what we've done to get us there. So we have to think about our gaps here. And then issues no one has ever considered. Sometimes that's the thing about teams doing this type of work, because usually someone will come up with something no one ever thought of. So, how is a win defined? What waste generating mechanisms are in place and might push back? There is a Black Friday example in your text. What kind of pushback might occur if a retailer wanted to scale back inventory? So consider that. And here's hold on just a second. Look at that example. Yeah, here it is. On Black Friday, retailers are driven to open as early as 4 a.m., which honestly, it's not happening as much now because of online shopping. But anyway, in order to sell goods at massively discounted prices, which encourages shoppers to purchase things they don't need or won't buy later on when they would have needed them. Preparing for Black Friday sales requires massive inventory buildups for manufacturers, inducing further waste. Overall, beyond the debatable fun of such collective frenzy shopping days, one can see the overall waste created by volume for discount decisions through first batching and second overburden. Definitely. And it's interesting because, you see online shopping, which is changing Black Friday now, but normally they have too much inventory where they end up having to clearance things out. But what kind of pushback do you think occur if a retailer wanted to scale back inventory? What do you think the pushback would be? So that's an interesting perspective on that. Because basically there's a lot of waste there. And they put so much out there, they don't sell it all. So there's a lot of waste when that kind of situation, and lean thinking basically moves away from that type of thinking. In the burn text, which is your lean turnaround action guide, the lean turnaround, we go through the steps each week in the presentation to give you an idea of how lean implementation is done, which I've already discussed. It is a fictionalized example, but it is useful because you think of it, if you read your text, it's obviously very informative about lean, but this other book is kind of more like a real life. How you read about how something in a text that's in the perfect situation, but the book gives you more of a realistic process, which is why I like it so much. In the real world, how it would happen, and the writer of this has done many turnarounds. So this is written by someone who's done it several times. So the first step is a kickoff meeting. And in a kickoff meeting, you meet with the senior management team. And then you have to get, if you don't get commitment here, you might as well forget it. It's not going to happen. So they really have to be supportive of it. Then the employees have to read up and understand what is lean, why are they doing it? Basically, why are they doing it? Why should they care about it? Why should they get on board with this? And also understand it's not a set of actions that has a beginning and an end. It's basically a new skill. Really, it's a new skill. It's like if they had to learn how to run a certain type of machine or whatever. It's just a new skill. It's not I'm going to do this for a little while and then I'm just going to forget about it. That's not how it works. So that's the first thing. I want you to read the kickoff meeting chapter. You're going to have the players in here. You're going to get, the first, the pushback, the people with questions, all of that. Read that through. Because, you might see yourself in that example. You might see yourself as one of these characters if you were in the situation yourself. Like you would ask the same questions. So that's really all for this week. Make sure to read complete your assignments and read your chapters. If you have any questions or concerns, let me know. And let's have a great week. Thanks.